All right, you did read that right. We've got Micah and we have new guy Harry with us tonight. And yes, I just got to meet Harry in the green room, and he's a very nice guy. And I think many of you have probably spoken or emailed with Harry in the past few months. So we'll get to meet him. But we're going to be doing a Comic Connect auction preview for the team over there. So let me bring these guys in and get you acclimated. Everybody knows Micah, even though that haircut, Micah, almost, I bet you half the people don't recognize you because of that. I mean, they're used to having you, crazy
Look
haircut.
like you.
Exactly.
It comes
Exactly.
and goes. People who've known me long enough should know this event. This inevitably happens every year or so.
It's almost
And
spring.
every time I cut it, I say I'm never going to let it get long again, and then I do because it's cutting your hair is annoying.
Exactly. It's like shaving sometimes.
Also, I don't know what you're talking about.
But who is this gentleman sitting right next to you, in between us?
Harry, please.
My name's Harry. I joined the team a few months ago working on comic books, pulps, and original art. That's certainly what I like to collect, so I'm excited to be on here. I've watched this show before. It's nice to be on this side of the table. But yeah, excited to get to meet more collectors and to talk about some of this great art that we got today.
Fantastic. So what is your background in this wonderful hobby of ours, from comics to art?
So I've been reading comics since I was 3 or 4 years old. My first comic, oddly enough, was the Will Eisner adaptation of Don Quixote. And from there, I moved on to Spider-Man and on to just anything I could get my hands on. I started working in a comic shop, and that's where I met Micah, actually. Would have been about 7 or 8 years ago,
Something like that.
when I was in high school. And then I just kept learning more about vintage comics and then original art. And when I heard there was a position open at ComicConnect, Micah told me to apply, and the rest is history. Here I am, and it's been really great getting to work with all this stuff.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Micah, your recommendations go a long way.
Apparently.
There are a few of us here at ComicConnect that Micah has brought in.
All I know is that if I meet another person whose first comic was the Will Eisner adaptation of Don Quixote, then I'm just going to throw my hands up in the air.
That is not my first comic. But,
No.
I have read that. So
same old story, Don Quixote.
Exactly. Classic.
So this is our first time seeing you since OAX in January.
That is very true.
It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I was surprised at how much smoother it was than the first year, because the first year was pretty smooth, all things being equal. But it seemed to the vibe was still great. Like the vibe in the room, which is how you judge any show, really, it was as good as any show I've ever been to. Like everybody seemed to be having a good time. It was never boring. I didn't get to see most of the room again, which is a good sign. It means that we're busy.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to. I actually saw less of the room this year than I did last year, and that was not how it was supposed to
go. Hey, I know. I haven't.
I didn't get to say hello to. Apologies.
Right. Well, I promised myself before the show that I was going to walk around and take a selfie with every booth owner, and I didn't get one. So
I don't
that's the second year in a row I promised myself.
You for like 2 minutes on Friday night, and I didn't see you again until Sunday.
That's true. When I dropped off that artwork for that collector, right? Yeah. No, it is what it. But like you said, I was having a pretty good time. I mean, at the end of the day, just getting to run into people. I felt like I still talked to half the people there. It was just usually in the hallway or in the men's room, or at the
registration. I talked to you for 5 or 10 minutes after the show was over on Sunday.
Right. But I'm glad you guys had a good time. I mean, was business good at the booth?
Yeah, business was excellent. Consignments were good. Sales were good. It just, what the great thing about art-only shows is that even if you're not selling anything, the conversation is always interesting. So it's never, when you do artwork at a regular comic book show, there are going to be stretches where you're just not talking to anybody and it's boring. And with an art show, everybody in the room likes likes to some extent what you have. So there's always something to talk about. And that's, so, and part of, when you're doing a show open to close, there's a lot and it's tedious. And what keeps it from being terrible is conversations with collectors. And that was great. It was the days never dragged. And in both Saturday and Sunday, both days went by very fast. Like I was like, all of a sudden it's like, how is it 5 o'clock already? It doesn't feel like I've been here for whatever, 7 hours or whatever it is at that point, 8 hours. So I consider that as high a praise as I can give for a show like that, is that it was fun, it was lively. I look forward to doing it again. These things, the more you do these things, the more they become work.
See, Robert Berman's got the right idea. That's why the thing starts on Thursday. In that brief moment that we talked, you imparted wisdom to me about ComicConnect's kind of sort of your approach to the show is like you knew that there was going to be illustration art collectors there and a different audience in year one, and because of that, then you tailored sort of some of the pieces you brought, and that worked out because you found a buyer for a nice illustration painted piece. And you got to be smart when you're exhibiting and putting that kind of forethought into the makeup of the show and the DNA of the buyers.
With artwork especially, it's difficult to cater to a specific collector or type of collector, because you never know. Two people can have wildly different opinions on the same piece of art. But you do your best to try to say, like, well, what do people at this show, like, what, you try, I mean, because you can't always bring everything. So you try to bring what you think people who at that show will like. And luckily this year we made the right choices with several things, which is always satisfying, especially when they're big things that I don't want to bring home.
Yeah, so you shipped stuff down this time.
We
right?
did. We shipped some stuff. We carried some stuff. It's we wanted to have a full display, and you can only carry so much. And some stuff is too big to carry on a plane. But the nice thing about being in Florida is that it's not so cost prohibitive to ship a couple boxes of stuff.
And you had a back wall too, right?
We did. We did. We shipped those. We shipped the walls. We shipped and we shipped some, like, one box of oversized stuff and some overflow. Not so bad. Nothing too crazy. And we shipped them back on Monday.
We're already planning though to get another art bag. So between the two of us, we can carry twice as much art. So keep an eye out for that. At the convention.
That's good. More art is always better. Then you can.
It is, and you never know. You don't want to have somebody ask for the thing that you didn't bring, and it happens more often than you think.
So what are your next shows?
The shows are starting to come up fast and furious. So after a nice couple months off, we have WonderCon, which is 2 weeks from this weekend.
Yeah. And
then we'll be at the Little Giant Comics show in New Hampshire, which is more comics, but we'll have art there too. And this is on consecutive weekends. So we've got WonderCon in 2 weeks, then the Little Giant New Hampshire in 3 weeks, and then C2E2 in Chicago.
And that's another one of those one-day art shows.
The one-day Jersey show.
Yeah, so there's a one-day art show right after, the day after Little Giant. That Sunday, I'll be there. Micah won't.
I got to drive up to New Hampshire, and I'm not driving back from New Hampshire and going to New Jersey. But that's okay. So Harry will represent us at that show, and then we'll both be in Chicago. And then we get almost a month off before the Graphics Con in New York, the old New York Art Expo.
That's first weekend in May.
First weekend in May. That's Zadek's show. And then 2 weeks after that is the Lake Como.
That is true.
It's a busy couple of months coming up, but it's hard to complain when the end of that is getting to Italy for a week.
Exactly, and then you'll have San Diego.
And then Heroes, and then
San Diego. There you go.
And then we're doing Terrificon this summer in August. We may have another show in August. I can't remember. I don't know. I don't know. We're getting there's so many shows coming up. I can only keep so many in my head at the same time. But yeah, starting in a couple of weeks, my life's about to get real hectic. But going to WonderCon is fun. I enjoy that show. I haven't been to Chicago in 3 years, so that'll be nice to get to go back to C2E2. I always enjoy my time in Chicago. And Little Giant, you know, it's more of a comic book show than an art show, but it's like a small, like old style comic book show, and those are always kind of fun. And it's one day in Concord, New Hampshire.
And he's been talking about getting a lobster roll.
I have been talking about getting a lobster roll on the way back, because if I got to go to New Hampshire,
you got to get one. I haven't had a good lobster roll in 20 plus years since last time I was in Boston, so it's been a long time.
Yeah. I went to this show a couple years ago with Vincent, and on the way back, we just randomly stopped for lobster rolls and had the best lobster roll I've ever had in my entire life. So it is my mission to find that same place.
Awesome.
I think I can do it.
Well, let's talk about this impending auction that you've got, right?
So the auction is running, Event Auction 61. Running. It ends next Monday, a week from tonight, starting at 7 o'clock Eastern. And there's some pretty good stuff in it. So
the art portion is Monday.
Art portion is Monday.
Comics after that.
Yeah, foreign comic book international editions. All of those are on Tuesday, and then the rest of the comic books in 3 sessions, Wednesday through Friday, alphabetically.
And with art on Monday will be the memorabilia and pulps. Right?
Yeah, we got about 100 pulps and a handful of memorabilia pieces. Good selection on Monday. Probably the biggest session overall.
And some decent art. Want to?
There is.
We can start talking about that. We can start. I think start with some of the stuff behind us.
Yeah.
You got all the best stuff on the wall behind you.
Well, we've got a little bit of a new setup here, so we now have like a counter behind our.
I saw that. Yeah.
So easier to put some things. We're in the process of like rearranging like all the art on the walls in the office. So quick aside, I know we've been talking periodically about doing another walkthrough of the office. So maybe once we're done doing a little redesign, I can show that off. So whenever that is, I'll keep you updated.
Yeah, that works. Sorry, I'm flipping around screens here. There we go. Better. But you got a bookshelf now too.
We do have a bookshelf.
Yeah, that was my doing. We got in a collection of hardcovers, and I think they're better like this than in a box. I
would agree.
We get people
They're not doing anybody any good in a box.
People come into the office all the time thinking we're a store. And instead of just turning them away, saying, sorry, we're not a store, we decided to have some stuff in the reception area that people can actually buy. So we've got the shelf here. There's this table, this counter behind us is usually got boxes on it with, inexpensive comic books. So stuff if people walk in off the street, there is not just nothing for them to look at. We try to make people happy.
So if you find yourself in New York and you want to check out the office, you can see what's on the walls. You can
honestly, forgetting about the crap we have for sale up front. Just if you find yourself in New York, you should come here just to see the art on the walls.
You definitely
I've never been
to these boxes for sale up here. There's some good books. There's actually some good books on this shelf. DC Archives and Marvel Masterworks, mostly.
Nice. Well, JSS Brooklyn. Do you have some kind of connection between the books on the wall and the art, or the books on the shelf and the art on the wall, or is it just
nope?
I mean,
whatever?
There's probably some overlap. Like we've got a Superman cover on the wall that I'm sure we had the reprint of that issue. No necessarily rhyme or reason to that though.
Well, you're just getting started on it though. You could really start putting some thought into it. Have monthly art / book.
You're trying to make more work for us, is what you're doing.
Well, you got Harry's probably got some free time. He's only started a couple months ago.
Yeah, good thing. There's a lot to do.
Oh, I believe that.
Let's talk about this pretty great George Perez Fantastic Four cover.
Yeah, let me get this up there. There we go.
So yeah, it's Fantastic Four annual number 15. George Perez and Joe Sinnott, which is pretty great. This is pretty close to like as good a period for Perez as you can want. 1980.
Yeah, we were talking about Perez in the office recently, and I found myself being in the somewhat controversial position of saying I actually kind of prefer his Marvel work. the stuff with Sinnott, like this one, and the covers, the Avengers covers with Austin. I think it's a slicker look for him, and I really like what those inkers bring out in his work. I think that's just a great example of it here.
It is a pretty great one. And it's interesting to see Perez with an inker like Sinnott. It's an unusual inking style over Perez. I like it a lot. That's as much of a testament to Sinnott as anything else. The guy knew how to cater what he was doing to the artist he was inking. Mm-hmm. But like, you don't lose a lot of the detail that Perez is famous for, but it has that like Sinnott-y slickness, which I really like, and it's great Dr. Doom face. But that's pretty dope. And let's not get me down on Perez's DC work, because we've got a pretty good one coming up in the next auction.
This is true.
Stay tuned.
True.
You haven't debuted that or talked about it yet?
No, the preview of the next auction will go up sometime about a week or so after this auction ends.
Okay.
So we've already got a couple of real good like prime pieces, and it's exciting. I'm looking forward to that. But there's very good stuff in this one.
Let's not jump.
Yeah, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
All right, let's get through the pieces and the lots that you got and the consigners and all that stuff. But no, I'd be split. I actually like, even though I'm a Marvel guy, I do love Perez's DC work too. Right, work on Titans, JLA. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're just distinctly different in a lot of ways. His Marvel work feels a little different than his DC.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why when they were trying to do this Justice League Avengers crossover, Perez was the only guy who really made sense. Mm-hmm. Or at least made the most sense. And because, he could do it. He's one of those guys who was like, well, who can draw all these characters? I know, George Perez. George Perez can do it and will love doing it.
And not just that, but is able to draw them in a similar style or the same style in a way that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look wrong to see him drawing Spider-Man and Superman. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Where are we going? Now, see, look at, doggone it, your site and your little timeouts. I'm gonna have to open up a whole bunch of windows. So I'm flipping over to you now. Let's have you talk all about this piece for a second.
We can talk about Barry Smith and Weapon X some more, because you never get tired of talking about Weapon X. So this is from chapter 12, which I believe is the last. Is it the last?
The final chapter. It's full issue length, I believe. So longer than the rest of them.
That I have to check. But it's a great little crazy Wolverine running through the woods, which is, for me, Weapon X. Weapon X is about two things for me. It's like Wolverine sort of being experimented on in this like great early part of the story where he's had nothing. That was nothing. Where he's being experimented on and getting the adamantium put into him, and then there's the end where he's running through the woods, fleeing after escaping. And this is, I think, a great page. Got a little fever dream action going on here. Beautiful drawing by Smith, which is nothing out of the ordinary, especially this era of Smith. I think it's exceptional. I think the last page we sold was great. I think I might like this one better. I think it's visually more dynamic. It's just crazy. I love it. I love everything about it.
This one is great in that because of how much ink is on the page, like from across the room, it just sort of screams at you as being like exciting, bold. We had it hanging on a wall at one point, and it like from all the way across the room, it just popped more than anything else we had it hanging with.
Yeah, well, those blacks are so rich, it's just makes the page pop. I mean, 4 equal-sized panels. I mean, the layout's great. Kind of feeds into one panel after the other. I mean, it's a wonderful piece of art.
I mean, it's one of the most beautiful comic books ever drawn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a lot of its staying power is how pretty it is. Because I mean, yes, it's a Wolverine comic that's 35 years old now. But there's lots of Wolverine comics that are 35 years old that aren't anywhere near as desirable as this one. And it's because it's so accomplished artistically. It's one of the best artists who ever drew comics at the height of his powers. It's as good as it gets.
Well, you're not going to get any disagreements from me.
Not at all. I wish I bought a page 30 years ago, but they were kind of expensive then.
Yeah, but look at them now.
Not this expensive, but they were still, they were always among the most expensive.
They were. Oh yeah, no, without question. They were always just out of reach, and yeah.
So where they're at now makes all the sense in the world.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting it. They're not getting any less desirable. And there's the same number of pages that there's always been, but people don't sell them, so they're not available. And it doesn't matter how many of something there are if none of them are available.
Exactly.
And
Scarcity drives up demand and the price.
And it's not like there were all that many to begin with. I mean, there were books where there were dozens and dozens of issues of 20+ pages. This was 12 chapters, only one of which was full issue length. I mean, it's not
120 pages or something.
It's not a massive quantity to begin with.
No, more than that. Probably 140 pages. Yeah, something in that ballpark. But either way, they're all great.
Not a lot to go around.
No. What's next? What's third?
Third is, I believe,
is the
Ramita.
It's the Ramita. This, yeah, that's fine. So this is page 1 from Fantastic Four 103. Fantastic Four 103, famously, is the first issue of the Fantastic Four that Jack Kirby did not draw. So this becomes, by default, the first page of the Fantastic Four that Jack Kirby did not draw. And I think that's awesome. So, and if Kirby's not going to do it, who better than John Romita? So you've got Romita filling the shoes of Kirby, who left over story disputes with Stan Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's historic for a couple reasons. One, obviously, because it's the first Fantastic Four page not drawn by Jack Kirby, but it also represents sort of a shift in Marvel overall, sort of the beginning of the post-Kirby period of Marvel. And I think that shouldn't be understated. I think it's important. Also, it's a pretty great splash page. You got the whole FF, Submariner, Magneto, random goons. I mean, beautiful drawing from Romita. Inks are by John Bierporten. And I think it's just a beautiful splash. I think I'm happy to see it performing well because, again, I think this page is, aside from its artistic merit, which is great, it's historically significant. And it's rare that you get both things in a page of comic book art, great and important. And I think this is important.
I think it also marks this book was sort of the last holdout of Marvel books drawn by their original creators, like where the whole creative team was intact. Mm-hmm. And so it signals this shift, like Micah was saying, from a period where Marvel was defined by a handful of groundbreaking artists to being more about the universe and the characters and the passing of the torch. And that's kind of what it's been since then. And this is the definitive statement that is what's going on in the comic book publishing company.
That's why I brought them along. Next is this Jim Lee guy here, I believe.
Yes, indeed.
That's big enough for you, or do we have to bring it closer?
I'll bring it. So this is 15 by 20. Jim Lee, inked by Scott Williams. It is a commission, probably about 10, 15 years old, somewhere in that ballpark. At the time it was drawn, so I can't speak to the truthfulness of this statement when it was said or whether it's still being true, but when it was drawn, Jim Lee said, at the time anyway, it was the largest image of Wolverine he had ever drawn. I'm taking Jim Lee's word for it, and I do not know what he's drawn since, but it's a pretty big Wolverine, and it's a pretty great drawing. So you've got a big, just forward lurching Wolverine, which is the pose you want Wolverine in. Beautiful backgrounds. You've got a sort of just destroyed Sentinel. Just fantastic. It's really a beautiful drawing. And it was news last year about Jim Lee's commission prices. So
yeah, not that they had changed hardly at all in the 2 or 3 years preceding that. Someone just decided to make it news, and it blew up.
Honestly, good for Jim Lee. If people are willing to pay it, then why should he not charge it?
Of course. Oh, come on. If you could get $25,000 for a commission, Micah, would you turn it down? Would you say, no, I'd rather draw
Are you
for 5?
saying you can't, Bill? Are you saying I can't get $25,000 for a commission?
Or are you saying that you'd like to commission Micah for $25,000? I think he's available.
Bill can have it for 20.
Thank you. You know what I'm talking about. It was nonsensical, but it is what it is. You know, it's like that. I would just think that, you know, when people get disgruntled about not being able to afford a commission from one of the most important artists of the last, 35, 40 years.
I'm putting this offer out there that I will draw Wolverine at this scale for 10% of whatever this sells for.
All right.
It won't be as good. But
it won't. But it'll be more affordable, which should make all the difference.
It also won't be the worst drawing of Wolverine you'll ever see. I can draw a little bit. It won't be good, but it won't be the worst.
To get back to the drawing that we're discussing, it's really remarkable because this is from 15, maybe 20 years ago.
Less than 15, give or take 10 to 15.
But because of when this is from, it's rare to see Jim Lee drawing Marvel characters in this sort of more mature post-Hush style. And that's really what this screams to me, is that this was drawn during his like prime DC period. It's got Williams ink, so it looks just like the published work in that regard. And it's unusual to see that team in this style doing the Marvel characters that Jim Lee is associated with from earlier in his career. So to me, that makes this a really unique piece.
And to the best of my knowledge, he doesn't do this size anymore. So what you're getting now is 11 by 17 with inks by Jim. Mm-hmm. So it's getting something like this now would be difficult and prohibitively expensive.
And that's not a knock against Jim's ink by any means.
No,
he's a fantastic inker. But this is unique, and Williams is his iconic collaborator in terms of, you know, inking and on X-Men in particular.
There's also something nice about, while this is a commission, if you don't have any of the uncertainty of commissioning something yourself, hopeful that it's going to come out as well as you want it to. With something like this, you know how good it is when you're buying it.
And it's very good.
It is very good.
His claws are straight. It's inked by
his claws are straight,
Scott, which makes a big difference. In
I cannot guarantee straight claws on if somebody takes me up on my offer. They're going to be wild.
It's important to some buyers.
That's fair.
I
think it's fantastic. I really do, and I agree. You know that, like Javi said, you should try to find a way to get it printed, get it be a published piece, and then it'll be worth even more one day.
Absolutely.
So what are we going to do from here? Do you have more stuff on the back wall, or
I got a couple more Jim Lee pieces to talk about.
Okay.
While we're talking about Jim Lee, so let's go back 30 years. This is a page from Wildcats number 12. So I got 12. This is, I believe, it's not the first appearance of Mr. Majestic for you Wildcats fans out there, but it's the first time Jim Lee drew Mr. Majestic. I think he first appeared in the backup story. But is there a more classic Jim Lee image than that? Now imagine him being Magneto, and it's classic Jim Lee. Hand reaching out, you know, just like fantastic, great period. This is 1994. Also, Lee and Williams, just a great early Wildcats page by Jim.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to show my age a little bit. These comics predate me by a few years. So my Jim Lee is the Hush Jim Lee, but looking at these, you can see where it all comes from, and it's nice to see him, you know, when he's young and hungry and doing his own thing.
And we also have this, speaking of Hush, this is a Batman and Catwoman drawing that Jim did in 2003 that is published in volume 2 of the Hush hardcovers. So it is a published Hush period Batman Catwoman by Jim, which is also pretty cool.
This Catwoman design is probably my favorite Catwoman design, so just fantastic. And by Jim Lee.
Yep. I think that's all
wrong with that.
No. We have Thor.
There's the close-up. I managed to get it in there.
There we go. Thank you. It's a nice drawing. It's a good drawing, and you know, good enough that when they were putting the Hush collection together, they published it.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a published Hush Batman, which is cool, and it's, you know, cheaper than a published Hush page.
Yeah, those are not cheap.
No, I believe next is Thor here. This is 1962. So this is Journey into Mystery 86, the 4th appearance of Thor. This is a pretty great page. I like that first panel with just Thor holding up the hammer with the lightning is just quintessentially Thor. With some great Thor flying around, leaping, spinning, and all sorts of cool Thor things from 1962. So Marvel Comics were barely a year old at this point. The Avengers were still a year away. It's you know, I love the stuff from that sort of inception. I love everything from things from the beginnings of their period. So it's like that's why I like comic books from the 30s or comic strips from the early 1900s. People sort of just kind of having fun because there are no expectations. There were no expectations with Marvel Comics in 1962. They didn't have that history behind it to live up to. They were just trying to make good stories and sell comic books and trying to entertain themselves. And it's the same thing. Early comic strips, they were just inventing the rules. There were no rules. What were comics? They didn't know because nobody had done them before. So they're just making it up as they go. Same thing with the early comic books from the 30s and early 40s, where they're just figuring out as they go. I find that fascinating. And Kirby, I mean, I don't know if there's ever been a creative burst in comics like Jack Kirby from 1962 to 64, where like almost everything he did has become this iconic thing historically in comics. Like all the, you know, stuff that we're going to the movies to see now, you know, for the by and large was, you know, created by Jack and Stan and Steve Ditko over like a 2-year period. We've taken Captain America out and some of the like Wolverine and, you know, later characters, but, you know, Spider-Man, Thor, like Hulk, all the classic Avengers except for Captain America were created in that brief period. And it's really, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, and even, you know, the other characters like Hawkeye and Black Widow, like they were introduced super early on.
Iron Man, Ant-Man.
It was this small gang of people in an office coming up with an entire world that's still growing and expanding and attracting new fans now.
And whose biggest stars are still, by and large, those characters from that time. That's the strength of the characters. And
if it ain't, don't fix it, Micah. I mean,
good point.
Did it so well to start.
And we've talked before about like Kirby and Thor. You know, Thor was very close to Kirby. He cared about Thor in a way that I don't think he did for any other characters aside from the Fantastic Four, because Thor is the book he stayed on. The Fantastic Four and Thor were the books he stayed on and didn't just kind of hand off at his earliest convenience.
And Thor was the book, too, that he tried to evolve and turn into his Fourth World New Gods saga. It didn't work out. Obviously, he ended up doing that at DC, but this was the world that he wanted to breathe new life into.
Yeah. And, yeah, it's just a great example. It's, again, history on a piece of paper. It's pretty cool.
Are we going to look at other Kirby, or are we going to?
We'll get to other Kirby later.
Okay.
So next, what's next?
I've got the Buscema FF cover. Yeah.
Buscema.
That's the one. Yep.
And that's for 117. This is Human Torch versus Diablo, and I don't know who that is.
That's Crystal, right?
Sure.
From the Inhumans. Somebody can kind of back me up here. Crystal, Inhumans, Bill?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know what? It's been, my mind's a little hazy tonight. But no, I remember this cover well. I think it's awesome.
But yeah, so when Kirby left the Fantastic Four, Romita came in for 3 or 4 issues, and then John Buscema became the regular artist on the Fantastic Four for a couple of years.
Yeah, and there's almost nobody I associate more with the FF besides Kirby than John Buscema. He really made that book his own in the years that he drew it, and then he came back to it later, and really he is one of the sort of defining visual architects of Marvel, and the FF is no exception.
Mm-hmm. And it's nice, you got a big image of Torch, and these little portraits of Reed and Sue and Ben are all original art. So no art paste ups here. The text is text paste up, but the art is all original. And this is inked by Sinnott again. I don't think Sinnott liked it when other people inked the Fantastic Four. I think he felt ownership because he had been on the title for so long. Because he inked the Fantastic Four for a long time, into the
early double digits on just forever.
Yeah. But yeah, and John Buscema, yeah, I mean, for me, is just, I think, the best of the draftsmen of all of those. Like Romita and Buscema, I think, were the best draftsmen of the early, kind of key Marvel artists. Sorry.
Certainly the most elegant draft of the crowd. Like really pretty drawing.
You don't get the nickname the Michelangelo of comics for it because you're not a great artist.
You do not. He earned it.
He did indeed. And yeah. All right. I think, are we up to this guy here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to switch over to that. So yeah, the McFarlane, right?
Wolverine and Wendigo by Todd McFarlane. So this is from Spider-Man 10, which is, I think, one of the more sort of like classic issues of the McFarlane standalone Spider-Man series, the Wolverine issue.
Right.
Just a great couple of panels of Wolverine getting pummeled by Wendigo. And the bottom image of Wendigo is just great McFarlane. This is just a cool page. Like you can feel like the impact of Wolverine going into that wall. Really smart use of breaking panel border. It shows, it gives you more thrust. McFarlane was a smart storyteller.
Yeah, the 90s can catch a lot of heat for how some of the artists really played up like what they thought was going to please the fans. But even as someone who wasn't around for these comics and has no real like memories associated with them, it's hard not to get caught up in the excitement just looking at the pages. Like it's just fun and exciting every time.
There's like a cachet with a McFarlane Spider-Man page, no matter what, from any time period. Just a McFarlane Spider-Man page carries some weight because he's so significant to the development of the stylistic, portrayal of Spider-Man. There's a sort of a before McFarlane and after McFarlane. So to see those pages, it's pretty great. It never gets old. So this great one from Spider-Man 10, and also going back a few years, we've got this one from Spider-Man 298, and that yes, it has no Spider-Man on it. I understand, but hey, if you're looking for a page from Spider-Man 298, this is going to be less expensive than if it had Spider-Man on it. And it's still pretty cool. It's still historic. It's, I forget this guy's name. This hero.
Chance.
Yeah.
Right? Chance. Jetpack guy.
Yeah. It's still beautiful drawing. The ink's by Bob McLeod. But really, it's still clearly very McFarlane-y. And it's a great opportunity to get a page from his very first Spider-Man issue that won't require mortgaging your house. But it's still very cool. I would be happy with this page. I think it's still very McFarlane-y. I love that this image is his reflection in the window. That's actually kind of clever. Or is he outside the window? I think he's actually outside the window. I take it back. It's not clever at all. No, it's still good drawing.
McFarlane's not listening. He was not offended.
No. It would be weird if he was.
Somebody's on the phone to him right now, but
right.
But no, I mean, sometimes you got to have a starter piece in your collection for
an
artist.
I've had creatives recognize me from these videos,
mm-hmm.
and that makes me uncomfortable because I'm supposed to know who they are. They're not supposed to know who I am.
Right.
But that's okay. It's humbling. It's humbling is what it is. One last McFarlane.
Not the last.
McFarlane. Two more McFarlanes. Let's do this one. This is a great. I don't know what this is. It's too good to be a sketch and too loose to be a finish, but it's Violator. It's not dated, but it is a sketch of the Violator. Could be a prelim, could have been any number of things, but I would say this is probably it's probably early 90s based on the style.
And it has everything you would want in a McFarlane drawing of the Violator. It looks exactly right, and it's got all the hallmarks of McFarlane from that period. It's really a fantastic piece.
And now I promise the last of the McFarlanes. This is a page from Salmon Twitch that is penciled by Alberto Ponticelli, but with inks by McFarlane and some pretty great McFarlane inks. If you go, I encourage people to look at this page on the website because you can really get in on it, but very McFarlane-y in the inks. And I believe this page is very inexpensive, right?
The story behind this one was when we got this consignment in, we were looking through it, and it said on the list that the consignor gave us that this was by Ponticelli, whose name I recognized, so I put that down. And Micah takes one look at the page and goes, I think this was inked by McFarlane. And we looked, and sure enough, it was. But that just goes to show how recognizable his style is and how strong it is. Even when he's not the penciler, you can pick it up.
And I think he only inks 2 or 3 pages from the issue, so which is cool. Again, if you want a McFarlane, this is I don't know what this page is at right now, but it's not a lot.
It's on a second or third page, so it is down
yeah, exactly.
My purview at the moment.
It's there. It's there under P's if you go in alphabetically.
Exactly.
Get back to Kirby here. This is
Sandman. That's nice.
Sandman. The cover to Sandman number 5. Kirby and Mike Royer and Sandman and a bunch of, I don't know, frog monsters?
Yeah, sleep demons at some time.
Yeah, who cares? They're cool Kirby monsters.
This, to me, is like my favorite period of Kirby. You know, as much as Micah was talking about when he created all of what is so popular in pop culture right now, artistically, this is the period where Kirby really comes alive. He's doing everything exactly the way he feels like it, and it's just exciting to see.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I've said pretty much that exact same thing before, so I'll just leave it at that. And also, Lee, thank you. Hello.
I think it's a great cover. Honestly, I really do.
I do too. Couple more Kirby's, both from Miracle number 14. It's a nice page with Varda and her Furies. It's a nice, great, again, Kirby and Royer. It's like 1973. It's a great period. And so you got a nice page with Varda and the Furies, and this is the final page of the issue.
Just great. We got some fantastic Mr. Miracle and Oberon down here, and then some just great Kirby design work on these upper panels here. Big faces, big eyes, lots of glowing energy, just like exactly what you would want from a Bronze Age Kirby piece.
And you got Miracle with both with and without his mask, which is nice. It's just cool. Again, I look, that's the time period for me, and Mr. Miracle is my favorite. That's the 4th world title, so. Mm-hmm. You will not get an honest opinion from me about those pages because I can't be impartial about them. They're beautiful. I love them.
And my favorite 6-panel layout, which is just from that era. I don't even know if I own a 6-panel layout, but every time I see one, I mean, I just love looking at them. I just love the design.
How would you not have a page?
But it works.
That's crazy. You need more art, Bill.
I do. I definitely do.
I think we're at the Alex Ross portion of tonight. So this is a double-page spread from the Justice League Liberty and Justice one-shot. This is one of Ross's like tabloid-sized one-shots with Paul Dini. Mm-hmm. This is the Justice League one. It's a great double spread of Batman and Poison Ivy. Just exceptional action from. This is like Ross. This is 2003. He was on his roll that started with Marvels and kind of carried through. Right around Justice, maybe, through all the Marvels and Kingdom Come, and then all these one-shots, and then Justice, where he was just on fire. And these one-shots, I think, are some of the best art he ever did.
That format, he really just was allowed to cut loose and do things in a way that would only read well printed big because they were printed huge, tabloid size. and you can see all of that detail in the original. Because it's massive. I don't know if you can see. Micah's pretty tall and is dwarfed by this.
It's pretty big. This piece is so big that if we didn't ship art to OAX, it wouldn't have been there because it's too big. Which is a little bit annoying because we have at some point had some of these for sale. It's hard to bring them to shows and we can't carry them. But it's just great. A lot of good Batman action, some great Poison Ivy images, great Ross kind of background characters. That's another thing he was really good at, background character acting, which is more difficult than people think because the artist is the actor for every character in his work. So you have to, everybody needs to feel real, and Ross was great at that.
Yeah, I like the layout on that a lot. I mean, just the way he's handling the storytelling there.
And a couple more Ross while we're on Ross. This is Hulk 45. Immortal Hulk 45. Nice. Hulk has seen better days than here. He's going through some things, but again, beautiful painting from Ross. I know people love this story arc.
Yeah, I've been the cheerleader for this one in the office. I'm the exact right age to be into Immortal Hulk, and I think it still stands up as one of the better Hulk comics. And part of what makes it so great is how in tune with the story Ross was in providing the covers. They fit the tone perfectly, and this is a great example of that here.
Mm-hmm. And one more. This is cool. This is from 2012. This is from The Last Phantom. So this is Ross doing, Lee Falk's classic Phantom. This is for all those kids whose first comic was Will Eisner's Don Quixote. Well, but Phantom is a classic character that's endured for, what?
Of course.
Quarter of a century now?
Yeah. Just a long-standing character, been in comic books almost.
And this is an even better example of Ross's background character acting. Like, the kids in this cover all feel like different, unique individuals. It's not just like, I got to draw all these people and we just do them with as little effort as possible. And I'm not knocking artists to do that. It's background characters are annoying. The Wolverine commission, if somebody takes me up on it, will have no background characters.
I think this is a fantastic painting.
This is a great example of everything that makes him a fantastic artist, and you don't have to pay the premium that it would bring if it had Superman on it.
Or Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Jim Aparo Batman portion of the auction. I love these kind of like, this is 1980 or 81, but when DC was up, because in the 70s, DC was all about horror comics, and there's a horror kind of branching over into the superheroes. This is the the Ghost of Wayne Manor. So nice kind of Batman's haunted house cover, which is fantastic. And Aparo, I mean, I've said this multiple times before, but Aparo drew Batman for so long that he is 100% the Batman artist of my childhood.
And it says a lot about Aparo's longevity because he is the Batman artist of my childhood too. Part of that was I was reading older comics, and part of that was that he just worked on that character for a really long time. So I see this and that's immediately just, that's Batman. That's the guy.
And this is where Aparo started on Batman the late 70s, so this is relatively early, but he kind of grabbed onto hold of Batman and didn't let go for 25 years. But Aparo's kind of the Kurt Swan on Superman of Batman. I mean, he just drew Batman for a very long time, and he becomes ubiquitous with the character. And I like this one a lot. It's a great one.
No, I do too. I've been talking about getting some Aparo Batman myself, and I haven't yet, but I will. I mean, he's just too classic, and especially his panel layouts are always gorgeous. I mean, he had a great way of telling a Batman story. I mean, with that kind of tenure on the book, I mean,
absolutely. And again, when I draw Batman, I still draw Aparo's Batman. It's just the Batman in my head. The way he did the shading on the face is still how I do it, and completely different now. This is Andy Kubert. I had to check. Andy Kubert, Captain America number 21. This is from 1999. Cap about to be crashed into by an Avengers Quinjet with the Wasp and Giant. Was it Giant Man?
Yeah, I think we decided that was Goliath.
But yeah, about to slam into Cap. And sorry, Alberto.
Sorry about that, Alberto.
I may or may not have gotten a text from Alberto asking me not to talk about this. But I told him I would talk down on it. So look at how terrible it is, everybody. It's really awful.
It's not by Jack Kirby, right?
It's definitely not by Jack Kirby.
Or Alberto.
No, sadly, sorry, Alberto. This is a pretty great cover. I do like it.
And a really strong period for Andy
Yeah.
Kubert, I think. The Batman stuff he was doing shortly after this and this Captain America run, really just a great time for him.
Mm-hmm. No, just pretty great. No, this is another. I've got another Andy Kubert. Quickly, it's X-Men number 53 from 1996. Just a nice juggernaut page by Andy from 90s X-Men. It's pretty cool. Moving on.
Let's see, the Starlin, right?
Starlin?
Yep.
Was Where Monsters Dwell number 20. This was Where Monsters Dwell was Marvel's kind of monster reprint title from the 70s, so where they were going to reprint all the pre-hero Kirby and Ditko monster stories, or otherwise known as some of the best comics Marvel ever put out. Sorry. But Starlin really embraces that. I think he goes big with the fun, with the big robots and whoever the hell that guy is.
I think it says somewhere.
I don't think it does.
Maybe not on the cover.
Not on the cover.
He's got a fun name. You owe it to yourself to find it later.
It probably says it in the description on the page there. If you want to click off the big image, we can see what.
Clag.
That is a good name. All the Marvel monsters from that time period had double consonants and double vowels in their name somewhere.
And just double G.
Double G, double A.
But a lot of fun, and Starlin leans all the way into that pre-hero weird uncanny vibe with this cover, which was nice to see Marvel getting back in touch with that in the 70s.
And yeah, Starlin leans weird anyway, so it's pretty dope.
Right, now we've reached my portion.
Yeah, you can talk about this.
So,
as much as I like this comic, I'll let this.
I talked a little bit earlier about what my first comics were, but my first Superman comic, and one of the earliest comics, I think I read this when I was 6, was Superman for All Seasons. And when we were listing this, we discovered that this is the second to last page of the first issue. It's a giant splash of Superman in costume. And we realized that it is the first full figure image of Superman in costume in the entire series. So for me, 6 years old, I knew about Superman, but I'd never read any Superman. This was the moment that Superman arrived. Every time I see this page, I go, yeah, that's Superman. And nothing else has matched that for me. So to be able to hold this in my hand, I know one of you likely is going to walk off with this one next week. But for right now, I'm like the happiest man alive.
I don't blame you. No, I think it's a fantastic image of Superman too. And
the content of this page, which you don't have here because the balloons aren't on it, but so the content of this page has actually been used in the Superman and Lois TV show. Superman and Lois.
Yeah. Yes.
It's it's Superman basically revealing himself to the world because it's the first time he's appearing in public, and so he's flying past this window, and this kid here says, "Hey, nice suit," and Superman replies, "Thanks, my mom made it." And that joke is in the Superman and Lois TV show. And also Superman for All Seasons is also one of the bases for the new movie. We'll see how much in a couple months when that movie actually comes out. But no, I'm a big fan of this comic. I read Superman for All Seasons before I had ever read Long Halloween or Dark Victory. And it's the comic that made me say, maybe I should go read those Tim Sale, Jeff Loeb Batman comics. And I don't regret that either. So, and then I read all the things they did together afterwards. I'm reading the new one, sadly not by Tim, but no, they did a lot of really great work together. And I would stack this up, as one of the best Superman stories that's ever been told. And this might be the best page from the whole series.
It's really incredible. It's exciting to have it.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. Another quick Tim Sales is a page from the Captain America White series, also with Jeff Loeb. So this is Cap and Sergeant Fury and Bucky, and just cool, beautiful ink wash by Sale. Really nice, just great, expressive. As like the Superman piece is almost kind of restrained, and this is Sale kind of just letting loose. The wild, exaggerated expressions and the great ink wash. It's another fabulous drawing.
Yeah, it's an interesting contrast between the Superman page and that one.
Mm-hmm.
Stylistically, the story.
10 years apart,
I think
something like that.
Yeah, let's see, the 1996 and 2016, so 20 years separation between the two of them. Really a lot of development for Sale in that period as an artist.
Next up is one of the more interesting pieces in this auction because I've never seen anything like it. I'm going to take it out of this bag. So this is Adam Kubert. This is a variant cover from Wolverine #5 from 2019. So this is six years old. But so interesting is that this is a scratchboard piece. So this is technically it's art. Everything on here is created by hand, but it isn't a drawing in the traditional sense. So it's for those not familiar, scratchboard is basically, so you take black ink and you blacken in the entire surface. And instead of drawing with a pen, adding ink, you draw with like a metal tool, almost like a dowel, and you're pulling ink away to expose the white. So all the white lines here are ink being removed as opposed to ink being added. And it's really quite remarkable.
This is from the Return of Wolverine miniseries, the debut of Wolverine's short-lived Hot Claws, and he really uses the scratchboard to great effect to show off the heat and the light coming from the red hot claws that were very briefly part of Wolverine's power set.
But I did not know that was a thing. Thank you, Harry.
That. It was short-lived.
I knew from the bone claws, but I didn't know from the hot claws. But either way, this is just a really interesting and very unique piece by Kubert, who's already a great artist.
Oh yeah,
you're not.
And he likes to experiment. That's the thing, So I could see him looking at this as a challenge. It probably took him a couple tries to get it right, but I mean, he's just I don't know. He's one of my favorite X-Men related artists, probably ever, and I always enjoy seeing his work.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very unforgiving medium, the scratchboard. If you make a mistake, it's pretty apparent. So if
you make a mistake, you just black it out and do it again. That's the beauty of scratchboard. You just put more fresh ink over it and scratch it away.
Confidence to work in that medium.
For an extra $500, I think Micah will do his commission with scratchboard this time around. So if it's $2,500, expect to pay $3,000.
No problem. I'll use Zipatone for an extra $500. I have some real Zipatone brand Zipatone somewhere in my apartment that I've had scrolled away for like 30 years. I'm afraid to use it. You can't get Zipatone brand Zipatone.
No, you can't. There are knockoffs out there these days.
There are indeed.
The original.
More Adam Kubert. It's Wolverine 85. So apparently we're in the Adam Kubert Wolverine double spread business. But so this is not going to be anywhere near as valuable as the last few we've had. But a really nice Wolverine double spread by Kubert. It's got some nice Wolverine kind of scattered around. Wolverine down here. You got most of the X-Men on here. You got a great image of Cable. This is another worthwhile piece to go and look at online and kind of get a sense of everything that's going on. There's a lot happening on this page.
If I may play devil's advocate, while the last couple Kubert Wolverine two-page spreads we've had have been very dynamic, very splashy, and important, given the movie that dominated the world over the summer, this one's got more drawings on it.
More characters.
It's really exciting. There's a lot of action, a lot of really great storytelling, and Mike is right. It just doesn't do it justice holding it up in front of the camera.
It's got Wolverine and Jean and Scott and Cable
and what looks like maybe is that Starhawk, whatever, from Guardians of the Galaxy, the original Guardians of the Galaxy.
I don't know.
A lot going on these these 2 pages here, and it's worth checking out. It's a very, very good piece.
But it is cool. Right. We've entered the salvage. The salvage portion. This is the splash page to Captain America number 149. It's a really nice Falcon splash. All the colors of evil. But yeah, great Falcon by Sal. The glue residue here is because they repositioned Red Wing a little bit. We have most of that replacement stat is included. It was made a little bit bigger and repositioned a little bit, but original drawing's all there. Just very cool. This is what, 1970 something, 72. Just great, relatively early Falcon. Well, moderately early anyway. Falcon, not as early as the one we have coming up.
And these, because I had the weirdest childhood ever. These were the Captain America comics of my childhood. I read reprints of these endlessly. So just a really classic period for the character, kind of the foundation of all the Cap stories since. So just a great piece for any fans of that era.
And featured prominently in a movie recently. I've been told. Falcon.
I did go to see that movie just this past weekend.
I saw it a couple weeks ago. It was good. It's better than people are giving it credit for. I enjoyed it. It's another Sal piece. This is Marvel Team Up number 82. This is 1979. The great Spider-Man, Black Widow, Marvel Team Up splash by Sal. A lot of action here. I think they're being hunted down by like rogue shield agents or Hydra controlled shield agents.
If you notice, this one here is Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, played memorably by Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and featured prominently in the upcoming Thunderbolts movie. So if you're excited about that, this is a great page. A lot of great characters, really good drawing. Fantastic piece. And just a great action image.
I love it.
Yep. Also by Sal. This is Submariner number 25. This is Sal and Jim Mooney. It's a nice Submariner versus Missile page. Submariner versus a Missile. Who will win? We know who's going to win. Actually, you see who wins on the page. It's nice. No, it's cool. It's Sal and Submariner. Just, it's one of those classic combinations.
And it's an end page too.
It is an end page.
Even better.
It is indeed. Is that becoming a thing now? Is that another thing? People are collecting end pages?
Sure.
Everybody
its title page is always going to be number 1, but
sure.
Chapter pages are probably number 2. But end pages I think are nice, especially during that era. You get the little box next. What
Sure.
the title is. Sometimes they play around with the font in there, and so.
And if you're lucky, one panel of them. All right, we've got some Joe Madureira here.
Yes, you do. Some pretty nice ones too.
Yeah,
I like a lot.
What's the first one you got there?
I've got. Let's see. The Astonishing X-Men 4. So one I've got.
Okay, Astonishing X-Men 4. So Age of Apocalypse.
Yes.
So yeah, we've got nice Age of Apocalypse Rogue action by Madureira. This is 1995. Again, I feel like I'm repeating myself when we talk about Madureira, but really, he is responsible for the sort of manga-ification of American comics, and for better or worse, depending on depending how you feel about it. But he changed the medium, and how many artists can say that they affected widespread change? Not something most artists get caught up in change where they're asked to do something like another artist. Madureira is the guy who they said, "Hey, can you do this more like Joe Madureira?" And that's a sign of true talent. So it's a great Age of Apocalypse page. We've also got, this is for X-Men, this is Uncanny X-Men 346. It's a nice page with a nice X-Men page featuring Spider-Man, which is cool. Got some great Meta or Spidey action. And this page, which I think is really sweet, this is, what issue was that?
This is 346.
This is 345. And this is just a nice little moment with Lilandra and basically kind of wistfully wishing she could have her life with Professor Xavier, knowing that she can't. And it's actually kind of wonderful. I like this page a lot. I like quiet moments. I've always kind of gravitated towards pages like that. They tend to be artistically more like stoic, and I like sort of like cleaner imagery. So it's like I'm because of that, I'm often drawn towards quiet moments, and that's a beautiful quiet moment.
Yeah, we talked about character acting with the Rosses earlier. Those moments, quieter moments, require artists to bring out a stronger level of that character acting. So it's often a challenge, but if they do it well, then it can lead to really beautiful pieces.
Exactly.
Agreed. And there's always a lot of quiet moments or conversational moments in X-Men books. So.
Exactly, and you know, it's harder to draw interesting quiet moments than interesting action moments. So that's another
talking
thing.
into that page. That's what you're trying to do.
I'll get you bidding at some point. We've got some more Justgo. These are the 2016 Marvel Masterworks. So
you've got a few of those in this auction.
Mark 1 Iron Man, Mary Jane. I love this one. Great pop art Peter Parker background. I love it. I love Maude, Mary Jane doing a little dance with her little portable turntable, which is cool. I wish that it actually should be a Spider-Man branded portable turntable. I'm going to tell Joe that next time I
should be the Spider-Man story record.
Yeah. There was a Spider-Man record that traumatized me. That's a story for another time. Quicksilver, a real great image of Quicksilver. And last but not least, Grog, the double G's, old Marvel monster with a double G name, but great realization by Justgo. I think it looks like he had fun with this one.
Seeing the Kirby monsters, these inherently outlandish creatures done up in Justgo's more like realistic painterly style too, is always just fun to see how he's going to approach that challenge. And I mean, I think he killed it here. This is great.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, more. Joe just never disappoints. It amazes me that he has the endurance to paint as many cards as are required to do in one of those sets, and the fact that he's done more than one series is I don't envy him. It's crazy. It's crazy. 2 sets of what, 150 plus cards each. It's a lot. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's several years of your life.
Commitment. Right.
It really
it's not
is.
something you knock out in a month or anything, but that's part of the gig, right? I mean, I think it's an honor to get selected.
He's not cutting corners on any of them.
No.
You know, they all have a level of finish that are up to his standards. And I've seen a lot of those cards, and none of them. There's not a single one of them where you look at it and go like, it's Hartwood in this one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're all
true.
Yep. All right. We have to
trad more, right?
So while I couldn't be more happy about the results we got from trad in the last auction, this one will not. It's not gonna, there's not gonna be a thread on message board specifically devoted to this page like there was with the other one, and that's fine. It is equally beautiful. So this is from the New World, which is the series trad did immediately before Silver Surfer Black. So this is like a year or so before. But you can see the density of the drawing. You can see it there on the screen, and it's just so interesting and from a design standpoint, just unusual and effective. It's one thing to try things that are different. It's another thing to be good at them. And I think this is the series where trad really puts it all together. The drawing ability that he always had, with the kind of crazy design sense that kind of encroached into his work over time and really established the look of Silver Surfer Black and then and Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise. would that have established him as, one of the brightest voices of his generation of comics of the last 10, 15 years. And, you can see it here, and it's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, this was the book when I bought it off the stands. I had read Luther Strode and I had seen Ghost Rider, but this book, when I bought it off the stands, I like stopped and I was like, oh, this guy has it. Whatever it is, he's got it. And it made me go out and buy whatever he was doing next, which is just like that is the tell of a really exciting artist, is that I'm just going to follow him anywhere. And it's a really great piece. It's a great example of the drawing in that book.
Yes, I agree. And Harry put his money where his mouth is. He does own a treadmill.
True. You will all see it someday, but I do, and I'm as big a believer as anybody in the artistic prowess of Treadmore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't own a tread. I would.
There is a website out there,
yeah,
for art fans, where you can share artwork.
Yeah, could talk about lead me to Felix. No, let's go to Felix's and buy one right now. That's available.
Well, you could go to Felix's and are there any available for sale though?
There aren't.
Okay. You have to look through a lot, but I don't think any of them are actively for sale. I was out there the other day looking for art, and there's a lot of sold art on there. It's hard to find available.
I happen to know where you could find one potentially for the right number.
What, yours? I've gotten more art that Felix has sold like secondhand after the fact, just because it's difficult. And more power to him. More power to the artists. I couldn't be happier for the artists that he works with.
Of course.
Because the artist, the success as an artist is what everybody dreams of in this business. And Felix, for better or worse, has really good taste in artists.
And he gets people excited about the artists as themselves, not just like, oh, look, this person drew Spider-Man, but like, oh, look, you'll buy whatever this person drew because of that,
mm-hmm.
which is exactly what defines success as an artist.
Yep, I agree. Next up, Transmetropolitan number 55, by Gene Ha. One of the great late period Transmet covers. I think it's close to the end, right?
I've never read Transmet in its entirety.
I think it's 60-something issues, something like that. 67 issues, something in that ballpark. Close to the end, but a really great cover by Gene Ha. Really embracing, I think, the absurdity that is Transmetropolitan. So you have Spider Jerusalem falling somehow completely naked, lighting a cigarette, because that's Spider Jerusalem.
And I love the design here too, the real dense drawing on Spider Jerusalem and the really loose background. It creates that immediate focal point. It's just smart design from Gene Ha.
Yeah, and this is 2002. Gene Ha's kind of coming right off of his work with Alan Moore. And nothing makes you think more about your final product than I think working with Alan Moore, because he thought about everything. And that can't help but rub off on his collaborators. But that's a pretty cool cover. Next up, you want to talk about this bit of wackiness?
Yeah, so
big Hulk face.
We got a giant Hulk face, and I bet some of you are saying that looks like Kirby, and you could be forgiven for thinking that because it is Keith Giffen and Mike Royer. It is just a great drawing. This is from Defenders number 50. It's part of the Scorpio, or Who Remembers Scorpio arc that featured Moon Knight, early appearance of Moon Knight as a guest star, which makes these relatively significant, actually, but also just a great drawing. And as we all know, tight close-ups on the Hulk's face should go for 6 figures.
Yeah, the last one went for 6. The last big Hulk close-up went for like 6 figures.
Interestingly enough, actually, this page I found out from a client who emailed, but this page was published from a photostat that had been shrunken and expanded slightly, but this is the original art. You get the Hulk bigger and closer than anywhere else. Only this close on this original page here.
I think the listing actually shows the published page, so you can see that they pulled it back just a little,
Not entirely sure why. I couldn't figure it out.
They changed the text above up at the top, and to fit all the text in at the top, they had to make the Hulk space smaller. So I don't know why, 100%, but that would have been printed from a stat of this. So this is the original drawing, and just the great chameleon that was Keith Giffen in his full-on Jack Kirby phase. And if you're gonna have a full-on Jack Kirby phase, you may as well get Kirby's best inker to ink it, and he did. I think it's cool. I love the eyes. That's my favorite part. The one big eye. That's like a telltale sign of a little bit crazy when one eye is a little bigger than the other. And Giffen knew from crazy.
Sure did.
That's a cool piece.
Yeah. So we have to Justice League. It's
yes.
Mike Sikowski is Justice League number 22. This is part 2 of Crisis on Two Earths, the story that, for better or worse, is responsible for all the nonsense we have to deal with in comic books today. So the Crisis on Two Earths is what introduced the concept of the multiverse to comic books. Basically, DC's way of having their still Golden Age characters and their Silver Age characters be able to meet and interact. But that was not a concept that anybody had thought of before Justice League 21 and 22.
And the Flash comic that preceded them by a little bit. There
right.
Kind of a couple of years where all of
right. The Flash of Two Worlds, Crisis, Crisis, and the first use of the word crisis in a DC comic.
Yes.
As a title. I'm sure the word crisis had appeared at some point, but as a title. And as we all know, DC can't kick it. Everything's a crisis. But this is cool. For Black Canary fans, I don't know if you'll ever find a better Sikowski Black Canary page. And she's fighting these cool, sort of like Onyx demons.
Yeah, Reagan there is chiming in saying she loves this page. It is a phenomenal Black Canary page. Sikowski really drew her best, I think.
It's cool. I love Sikowski Justice League. I think Sikowski is one of the more underappreciated artists of the Silver Age. I think he's as responsible for the look of that era of DC Comics as Infantino or Kane or any of those guys. I think his work on Justice League is significant. But take that as you will.
Now a real oddity.
Yeah, this is very strange. When I first saw this, I thought it was a colored, like a color guide or colored print, but it isn't. So this is the pencils by Gil Kane, inks by Tom Palmer, and then colors on top of that by Kane again. But not colored for print.
If you look at the published cover, is actually different than what you see here.
And so I was able to find a couple other examples of Supernatural Thrillers covers by Kane that were colored like this. And my best guess, take it as you will, my best guess is that when the art was returned, Kane thought it would be easier to sell if it was in color. But because it's done by Kane, I think that actually makes it a little more interesting and very unusual. Likely colored right around the time of publication, or whenever the art was returned to Kane. But beautiful cover, great mummy cover by Kane, and really wonderful inks by Palmer as well.
Palmer over Kane, they worked together a lot on the Marvel supernatural and horror titles, and I think it was unusual for those of us familiar with Kane's own inking, but a really lovely pairing, just taken in its own right.
Yeah, just real cool bit of 70s Marvel monster action. The 70s, where DC did their haunted house comics, Marvel was more about public domain monsters with Mummy and Frankenstein and Dracula. But everybody loved horror comics. Everybody should still love horror comics.
It's true. They're among the best still being published.
And this is very cool. I like this page a lot. This is Punisher Warzone number 4. This is John Romita Jr. and Klaus Janson. And I love Romita Jr.'s work on Punisher Warzone. I've always thought it to be some of the more interesting work, especially for the time period. The early 1992. It's kind of him really kind of embracing this style, which has sort of become the sort of mature style of Romita Jr. But it's a little bit crazy. It's a little frenetic. And it's a Punisher comic, so I kind of feel like that's appropriate.
There was this period in the early 90s between, you know, coming right off of Daredevil, doing Man Without Fear, doing these Punisher comics with Chuck Dixon, doing a couple of like crossover one-shots. That Romita Jr. was just on fire. He had kind of figured out what it was that he really wanted to do with comic art, and he was just doing it left and right. And so it makes these pages really a pleasure to look at, because you can just see him having fun.
Something about the Punisher that just lends itself to like cool, gritty artwork. So the grittier the better, which is why like Jansen was so effective as both artist on Punisher and then later inker over Romita. Because Jansen's inking isn't smooth or crisp. It's got like grit to it. It's why he's so good on Batman and Daredevil. You know, characters who are closer to the streets. And yeah, Punisher, this is what the Punisher should look like as far as I'm concerned.
It's a great page.
Okay.
Really.
And another quick Romita Jr. is a nice full figure pencil illustration of Wolverine. Real nice full figure Romita Jr. commission. It's lovely. And for those who haven't met him, John Romita Jr. is like one of the nicest people in comics. So if you ever get a chance, I recommend just going and saying hello. And he's always, in my experience anyway, been friendly and easygoing and approachable and happy to have a conversation with really, you know, with anybody. And you can't say that about everyone. So it's appreciated.
I'm with you there. I've only met him a few times.
Yeah. Next up is a very cool, trippy Captain America splash by Gene Colan. So this is Captain America 119. This is the third appearance of the Falcon. So you've got Falcon down here, and this is Steve Rogers out of his Captain America suit, and Red Skull Red Skull is basically revealing to everybody that he had been been an imposter or there's some sort of reveal going on here. And
my Captain America knowledge doesn't go back quite this early, but I think he had been presumed dead, and then it's not dead, I think, is what's going on here. But in true Colan fashion, it's really sort of
it's almost irrelevant
there, and just really Colan gets this reputation partly because he drew 70 issues of Tomb of Dracula as being like a horror and spooky comics guy, and he did that incredibly well. But the pure adventure stories and just the way he brought that like exciting, slightly exaggerated feel into regular superhero comics, that to me is the more exciting thing, and this is a great example of that.
Yeah, I just go to Colan and his wildly unorthodox layouts. Just the swirliness and the exaggerated anatomy, which is something that Colan famously did. But I love the sort of ethereal Red Skull. This is what, 1969? 69. It's crazy. It's awesome. And more Gene Colan wackiness. So this is jumping forward about 40 years. This is from 2005. So this is the cover to the book, The Secrets in the Shadows, The Art of Gene Colan. So this is a new piece created by Colan to be the cover of the art book about Gene Colan. So he basically took his kind of the three most iconic characters he worked on. So you've got Iron Man looking awesome down here, Daredevil and Captain America, and then above them, their kind of corresponding villains. You got the Mandarin over here, the owl up here. I love the way Colan drew the owl up here. And then Red Skull, again, just being spooky and crazy and awesome. And I think Colan really, knowing this was going to be the cover to a book about his own work, really did a lot. If you look at the detail and like the swirliness and the smoke behind them, especially between Daredevil and Captain America, just because it's in pencil doesn't mean he was doing anything easier. It's actually more difficult because you can do tones and gradations that you can't do in ink. And yeah, I just think this is as perfect a late period colon piece as you'll ever see. I think it's wonderful. And the fact that it's the cover to it's the book about Gene Colan.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Yeah, if you're a Colan fan, there's not a much better piece than this one if you want just something that's indicative of what he contributed to Marvel Comics and comic books as a whole.
And I really can't get over how cool he made Iron Man look. Like, just cool. Big shoulders. I love the big broad shoulders and like sort of like the anatomicalness of his costume. It's just, yeah, it's
I'm with you there. I always like the way he drew Iron Man.
Yeah. Next up, we got this cool Batman, like Adam West Batman cover by Michael Allred. This was not, oddly enough, not from the Batman 66 title that Allred drew, but a variant cover to the regular Batman title. It was a Batman 66 variant, but still from the main Batman title. But yeah, it's got everything you'd want in an Allred. It's cool design, fun drawing, nothing but appreciation and reverence for the things he's drawing. And I'm just gonna say it, still the best live action Batman, Adam West. Sorry, everybody else who's played Batman.
I'm 100% with Micah there. I grew up watching that movie, and it really, like, that to me is just another one of those signals, like, yep, that's Batman, and Allred channels everything that makes that Batman great.
Yep. And I like many of the other live action Batman, but none of them as much as I like Adam West. Adam West as Batman captured what I love about the old comic books. They were fun and a little bit silly. Nothing was ever so serious that you couldn't throw a dopey one-liner in there. Colorful villains, just
reality but better.
Yeah. I don't know what that means, but sure.
Well, there's been so much time trying to make, this is Batman, but if he lived in our world. We read comic books because we want to live in that world. And they understood that about comic books, that we want to live in that world for an hour.
Where everything is just a little bit tilted. I'm telling you, watch the old Batman show. I defy you to find any shot that is straight on. Everything is just a little bit askew, which I think sets the tone for the entire show.
Mm-hmm.
And now, something completely different. This is Russ Manning Star Wars Sunday. This is June 15th, 1980. And Manning famously only drew this for about 2 years before he died. Manning took ill suddenly, and then died in like 1981. I want to say. I think that's right. But what's special about this particular Sunday is that in the entire run of the Star Wars newspaper strip, which was only a few years, but in the entire run of the Star Wars strip, both by Manning and then the people who followed Manning, there are no other strips. I believe no other Sunday strips that have every single Star Wars main character in it. So you've got Luke and Leia and Han and the droids and Chewbacca and Darth Vader back over here. So forgetting Darth Vader, there are no other Sunday strips that have all of the main heroes, much less all of the heroes plus Darth Vader. And great image of Star Destroyer here, great X-Wings and TIE Fighters, a lot of great Star Wars imagery. And Manning was incredible. From the Star Wars stuff he did, to the Tarzan stuff he did, to Magnus Robot Fighter. I love me some Russ Manning. So I think this is super cool. And I love Star Wars. So, because I'm the age that I am, and I think it's against the law if I didn't.
No, it's fantastic, man. It really is. The battle scenes are beautiful.
Great. There's a Luke in the X-Wing, in his X, I think. Yeah, father, stop. You don't have to prove anything. It's talking. So this is post Empire Strikes Back, but only just. This is only a couple. June 15th, like a month after Empire Strikes Back came out in theaters. It's things you don't think about with so much distance. How new these things were at the time.
And I bet there were people who found out about that twist from the newspaper strip. You get the newspaper every day. You don't necessarily get to the movie.
If somebody hadn't seen The Empire Strikes Back a month after it opened, then they have nobody to blame but themselves.
I just think that it's interesting that people would have encountered this in different forms. We were talking in the office about what Star Wars was like when it came out, and we asked someone who was, 14 when it came out, and we were like, oh, what was it like seeing Star Wars in the theater for the first time? And he said, well, you have to remember, I was 2 issues into the Marvel book at that point, because they had screwed up the dates and published them ahead of the movie. But it just, people encounter these things in all kinds of different places.
Mm-hmm. And as far as the comments go over there, I would love to have some Mannix in the auction, but nobody's selling any. People are just buying it. So if you have Mannix and you want to put it up for auction, my email is on the screen.
Here, I just took it off. There we go. Micah S at comicconnect.com.
Harry's email. It's just.
I was going to say for any questions related to this auction, future consignments, if you're going to be putting bids on things that you might want to consign stuff for in the future, these are the guys to email, and they can answer any questions for you regarding those potential art pickups and sales. And what was your email?
Is on the screen. You can see it right here. My email is Harrison, HARRISONK, Harrison K, at comicconnect.com. Also, probably easier, Micah's is visible. Mine, we'll find a way to get it up on one of these shows at some point, but feel free to email either of us with questions.
And if in case you're wondering, yes, he was named after Harrison Ford. I'm not, no joke. No joke. Next up.
What actor were you named after, Micah?
I wasn't. I hope, I can't say with any certainty, because my father would do this, that he didn't name me after the main character on The Rifleman, but he might have. It's entirely possible. He never gave me a straight answer. But anyway, some Luis Dominguez.
We heard you guys like Luis Dominguez.
This is a cover to House of Mystery number 233. Great monster cover. Great monster House of Mystery cover by Dominguez, one of the main horror cover artists at DC in the 70s. It's just a great monster. It looks like Sigmund the Sea Monster, and that makes me happy. I know the title of the show is Sigmund and the Sea Monster. I don't know what the monster's name was, as for the sake of argument, for anybody who even knows what I'm talking about. Let's just call the monster Sigmund, because nobody cares. I'm curious if anybody watching knows what I'm talking about.
I can say that I do, which is probably a sign that nobody.
I watched it live.
I hope so.
Loved it.
I love that. I will watch Land of the Lost to this day. I love that show. Herb Trimpe is a great Hulk transformation page. This is Hulk number 111, so relatively early Trimpe Hulk page. But I love this sequence out the bottom. It's really lovely storytelling. Just great from the the preeminent Hulk artist of the 70s.
If Kurt Swan is the Superman, as Jim O'Hara is the Batman, same thing with Herb Trimpe on Hulk. He's the defining artist up on that character for just a long time.
And is another one?
There we go.
Now that sequence is cool. There's another one. This is from Hulk Annual number 6. More Trimpe Hulk action. And another one from What If number 23. What if Hulk's girlfriend, Jarella, had not died? And here's a little bit of what would have happened. So you get some nice Hulk panels down at the bottom. Great Trimpe creatures. Just a more cool Bronze Age Herb Trimpe Hulk art. And this is kind of a neat, this is a Marvel Comics Presents number 155. This is the Vengeance covers by Fred Harper. Very cool. Vengeance, interesting character, but this part of the whole Midnight Suns with Ghost Rider and Morbius and Blade. So part of that whole sort of like horror heroes, sort of like dark anti-heroes that Marvel was sort of spotlighting in the early 90s. But this is kind of a cool one. Not one of the bigger ones, but beautiful drawing from Fred Harper, who apparently did multiple versions of every cover, because this is an unpublished version of one of his other Vengeance covers here.
Oh, wow.
So this is an unpublished cover, and the other one is published.
The unpublished ones, there are a few of them out there. They appear to be like tighter, closer in images, so it's a cool spotlight of the character.
Some great photocopy collage of elements back here. It's all eyeballs, like photo collaged in of eyeballs, which is kind of awesome.
I didn't even catch the eyeball. That's great.
Next up, this is a cool pairing. Not a pairing I would have ever really thought of. So this is the cover to Batman Batman Chronicles #7. It's from 1996. So this is Lee Weeks. It's a Batman and Superman cover by Lee Weeks, with inks by Jerry Ordway, which is interesting. So Ordway actually wrote this comic. He didn't draw the interiors, but he wrote it and inked the cover over Weeks, who did draw the interiors. But really what's cool, because Ordway's got a very heavy-handed drawing style, but it doesn't overwhelm Lee Weeks. It's identifiably Ordway inks, but it's also identifiably Weeks pencils, which is a tricky line to toe. But a cool cover, nice little Scales of Justice Superman Batman cover by Weeks. I think that's pretty cool.
And if that wasn't enough for you,
yeah, more Weeks, more Wolverine. This little full page Wolverine. This is a last page. It's a closing page splash bill to the Wolverine Punisher #1. So great, like splash page of Wolverine by Weeks, with again inks by Tom Palmer. Tom Palmer was everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know how he did it, but you're absolutely right.
Almost a one-size-fits-all inker. I've rarely seen a page inked by Tom Palmer where I thought it was inappropriate. He was, like we talked about with Sinnott, really good at adapting what he did to the penciler he was working with, and I think this is a great example of that.
All right, we've reached the must move faster portion of the program.
All right.
Oh, we have. My gosh, time flies, man.
I know. Great Mignola cover. This is Witchfinder in the Service of Angels #5, a nice Hellboy universe spin-off book. Beautiful. I mean, it's a Mignola cover. They're never not going to be beautiful. So great dragons and serpents and creatures. Just lovely drawing. Next, Danny Warren Johnson. This is the cover to Magic #2. I believe that is a Magic the Gathering kind of licensed title. It's a variant cover, but it's Danny Warren Johnson. Let's just call it a New Mutants cover, and everybody can be happy.
For those Magic players in the audience, this is Garuk Wildspeaker, one of the original Planeswalkers, kind of iconic Magic character, really done beautifully by Danny Warren Johnson here.
And to the not Magic players in the audience, I assume that was all gibberish.
It's a big bear.
A big awesome bear by Dan, who's fantastic. Got some Alan Davis Excalibur pages. I was going to breeze through these because everybody knows what Excalibur pages look like. This is a great page from the special edition, the first Excalibur special edition. This is the Warwolves kind of going after Rachel Summers. Poor Rachel, can't catch a break. But cool book, cool artwork. Got another page from Excalibur #5. And a page from Excalibur #46, this little Megan page, and then a page from issue 55, which again, when you look at the listing, it's all explained there. Issue 55. This is inked by Davis over a photocopy of his own pencils because the pencils for the issue were lost. So to make up for that, Davis himself inks over copies. So this is real inks over a photocopy of the pencils all by Davis. This is how the book was printed. And a couple of Alex Savick Spider-Man Sunday strips. Both kind of cool. A lot of Spidey, a couple of Savick. More Savick, Web of Spidey. Bam. And bam. This is the cover to Swords of the Swashbucklers #10 by Jeff Isherwood. So this is the cover. Also in the auction, separate from the cover, is all 31 pages of the story. He drew them for some ungodly reason. Isherwood drew the entire issue on illustration board, so
it's massive, it's heavy, this is difficult. Please clap. But here it is. I'm not going to show off all the individual pages. It's a huge amount of them. It's the whole issue, and it's really great if you can get over the weightlifting required to pick it up.
It's an exercise. It's collecting and exercise. All right, we've got some Ron Friends, a great Ron Friends Thor page here. Great first panel. Juggernaut.
Yeah, that's good.
411. Got this is another Friends. This is Amazing Spider-Girl 25. So a nice Spider-Girl page by Ron. Another Spider-Girl page. What do you want to talk about from that? Okay. And this is really nice. This is Stuart Immonen. This is Ultimate Spider-Man 115. Really beautiful Spider-Man action page by Immonen. A lot of great images of Spidey on this page.
And from the later portion of the Death of the Green Goblin arc, so important to the narrative of the series as well. So if you're a fan of this book, this is a great piece to have.
Let's take a brief Spider-Man break and talk about that big painting.
Yeah, we got a big painting over here.
This is Sam Julian doing his take on Hal Foster's Prince Valiant, and a pretty good one, if you ask me. So it's oil paint on canvas by Sam Julian of Hal Foster's classic Prince Valiant, and really capturing Foster's version of Prince Valiant in the face and the pose. Really wonderful painting.
And obviously quite
big. All right, now let's get back to Spider-Man. This, like the McFarlane page from Spider-Man 298, this is a way for somebody who maybe doesn't have all the money in the world to get a piece of a classic story. So this is from Amazing Spider-Man 293. This is part 2 of Kraven's Last Hunt. So this is Mike Zeck and Bob McLeod, and this is Vermin sort of scouring the seedy underbelly of the sewers of New York, basically preying on people. So Kraven's Last Hunt is unpleasant, but maybe the best Spider-Man comic anybody's ever made. And Zeck's art in it is extraordinary. This page is great, and don't let its lack of Spider-Man take away from really how beautiful this page is.
Great lettering too. This is the annoying thing that I will do from time to time.
I love it. And there is a spider on the page in that first panel.
There you go. And a bunch of rats.
A lot of rats.
This is cool. This is Felipe Massafera. This is a variant cover to Green Lantern #5 from 2021. This is the Suicide Squad movie variant. So this is fun characters from the James Gunn Suicide Squad. You got Polka Dot Man and Starros all over the place. Yeah, it's a really vivid. I mean, if you can't, the screen's not going to do it any justice, but the colors on this piece are incredibly vivid. It's really a wonderful painting, and let's make sure people got to see it because it's very cool. Look at how cool it is. A couple of Mark Silvestri pages real quick. Wolverine #43. Great Silvestri and Dan Green. And then a page from X-Men versus the Avengers 3. Silvestri and Joe Rubinstein. A real nice Rogue and Magneto. I don't know. It's Rogue and somebody. But either way, a nice Rogue page by Silvestri from X-Men Avengers.
Rubenstein, very good inker over Silvestri. Great page.
It's Bud Root, Good Girl, Jungle Girl art. A very unusual small size EC page by John Severin. This is from Two-Fisted Tales number 37. Apparently, I learned this recently, and I'm a little surprised I didn't know it. Severin did not like to work twice up. So on many of the stories that he both penciled and inks, he would actually create them smaller.
And there was nobody to complain about that at this period because he had taken over as editor of Two-Fisted Tales, and so he kind of made the rules and could do whatever he wanted.
And that probably Kurt's in there to yell at him. This is a real nice Sam Keith double page spread from Zero Girl, his creator-owned series from the late 90s,
2001,
early 2000s. And another double page spread. This is Ed McGuinness. This spread was actually turned into a poster by Marvel. So this is Avengers Extinction by Ed McGuinness. A really great shot of basically the whole team kind of charging into action. Cap on his motorcycle. Basically all the Avengers. It's very cool piece by McGuinness.
And just all the dynamism that you could ask for in a McGuinness page.
And again, Marvel liked it so much they made it into a poster. It's a cool variant cover. This is Spider-Man number 7 from 2023, so this is a couple years old. This is the Carlos Gomez variant cover featuring the Japanese, pardon me, featuring the Japanese Spider-Man and his giant robot Leopardon. But very pretty.
And this is, I believe, from the issue in which Spider-Boy, Spider-Man's sidekick, the newly introduced character, appears not on the cover, obviously variant cover, but appears in this issue.
Real nice, mostly finished Black Cat illustration by Frank Cho. It's unclear if this was an abandoned cover or just an unfinished drawing. I just don't know, but it's still very pretty. And the figure is mostly finished. So the actual Black Cat figure is 90% finished. So, and the background is there just enough to give you a sense of what he was going for, and it still makes a very pretty displayable piece.
And typically large for Joe, like working at that bigger size.
He does indeed. He's the anti-John Severance. The cool modern Ninja Turtle cover by Kevin Eastman. This is Rocksteady and Bebop. This is the cover to Ninja Turtles number 114 from a few years ago. This is one of the more interesting Star Trek covers I've ever come across. This is Star Trek number 51 from the DC Star Trek series from the 80s. And this is a Captain Kirk cover by Mitch O'Connell. Not an artist I would generally associate with Star Trek, but I think it's a striking cover. I never thought about there ever being a Star Trek cover that I would want to own, but if there was, this might be the one. I love Mitch O'Connell, so it's very cool that when that came in. And I got some Travis Chare. This is early Wildcats by Travis. This is Wildcats number 9. So this is the backup story featuring Warblade. So you got a great Warblade back there. And this is an interesting period for Chare because it's just to the point where he's sort of becoming the Travis that kind of people think about. So you can see a little bit of his earlier work in here, and then and then you get into the density of the detail and the flourishes, especially in that Warblade figure, the wispy hair and the fine lines that would sort of become his trademark. I think this is a really, really beautiful piece, nice transitional page by Travis.
Agreed. Yeah, that is fantastic.
Couple of nice Bernie Wrightson pieces here. This is a prelim from Frankenstein Alive, which was sadly the last comic he would work on. But nice image of Frankenstein, especially that up at the top. Really great Frankenstein image.
And really like a tight prelim. You can see all of the Wrightsonness in the drawing here.
And then it's a page from Wrightson's Punisher series. Did he do a series?
Yeah, it was a short-lived series in the late 90s, early 2000s.
And 98, I guess it's Wrightson, inked by Jimmy Palmiotti, which is interesting.
From the initial round of the Marvel Knights line, this was the Punisher series that they launched that with. before transitioning over to the Garth Ennis run that became so famous.
There you go. It's, all right. Burning through some more pieces here. That's a cool Larry Stroman X Factor. Great Havoc, unleashing Havoc as he's wont to do. All right, and we got a couple pieces coming up here that I think are awesome. This is from 2000 AD. I'll do this. It's going to be out of order. So this is 2000 AD 101. This is from 1979. This is the Robusters title splash by Dave Gibbons. I think it's remarkable. So this is classic early 2000 AD Dave Gibbons, just dense with British post-apocalyptic robot mayhem. And if that wasn't enough, we've got another one. This is from 2000. This is for a couple years earlier, 2000 AD number 86. Another Robusters title splash. All the little character portraits on the side, all original. Fabulous. And another Robusters. This is from 2000 AD 100. This is an interior page from that issue's Robusters story. But I love this stuff. I love this period of Gibbons. It shows that even early on, like really exceptional draftsman, great work, great use of Zipatone, fabulous. I
want all three of those.
I just want one of them.
They are available for anyone watching.
Got a few interesting J. Scott Campbell pieces. Let's go through them quickly. This is the prelim to Superman Gen 13 number 2. So you've got Fairchild from Gen 13 and Supergirl giving each other a stink eye. Great, classic Campbell. This one I think is fascinating. You're gonna have to go on the site to look at these. I don't know what this was for. I just know that this is a page of drawings of Jean Grey.
We've chosen to call it the Many Faces of Jean Grey. It's got more or less all of her different costumes throughout the years, plus a couple of other characters.
Yeah, early, you've got her original X-Men costume, her miniskirt pointed mask costume, the Phoenix, the Black Queen, the Goblin Queen, the Frank Quietly outfit, and the Jim Lee outfit up at the top. And you've got the little love triangle of Jean and Scott and Logan. And a Professor X for good measure. I just think it's cool. I imagine that Campbell was probably working on some X-Men project and was just trying to do something, or trying to work out ideas for a variant cover maybe, and we're trying to decide what version of Jean to use. But I just think it's neat having all the different versions of Jean on one piece by an artist of Campbell's caliber. And we have this is a nice page of prelims from Danger Girl number 1, like the very original series Danger Girl number 1. Campbell would do his prelims 4 pages on a sheet, so this is 4 pages from Danger Girl 1, which is cool. And then another page of random Danger Girl sketches. This is dated 2013 by Campbell. So it's not obviously from the original run of Danger Girl, but still cool, him drawing his own character. But some neat process pieces by Campbell. Always fun to just look at process. All right, this is big Spawn double spread by
Gunslinger Spawn by
Brett Booth. Yeah, this is double spread from Gunslinger Spawn. Pretty gigantic image of Spawn there. Pretty cool.
And all the sort of detail and slickness that you would want in Brett Booth drawing.
A couple of Mark Teixeira, a page from his image series Union, short-lived image series by Teixeira, and then his less short-lived run on Ghost Rider. Great Ghost Rider face. Look at that. In your face Ghost Rider. Great. Teixeira's work on Ghost Rider is exceptional. And this is Teixeira inking Javier Saltares on a nice Wolverine page. This is from 2006. But nice Great Wolverine battle half splash. Saltares and Teixeira.
Bonus Wolverine on the reverse.
With a bonus Wolverine. It's a real nice Paper Girls page by Cliff Chang. Big fan of Paper Girls myself. They got great images We've got, what, 3 of the girls on this page, which is pretty cool. Get that many. It's a really interesting Spawn. This was used as a poster or a print of some sort. This is by an artist that I was not familiar with, named Caleb Addy, but it really is quite a striking drawing. Really interesting technique, very expressive. I think that's cool. This one is going to take a minute.
By the way,
Caleb, that's what I said, right?
Caleb.
Caleb?
Caleb. It's Caleb.
I thought I said Caleb because Caleb isn't a name.
Right.
That's all right. Which I'm trying to move quickly. This is a spirit page by Darwin Cook. So this is Darwin Cook Blue Line Pencils. And what's unusual about this page, because nearly all the spirit pages were inked by J. Bone, but not this one. This one was inked by Darwin. And you can tell because he said so. Now it's a Darwin inks only. So I did some looking on this. I talked to Albert Moy, and who would know. Darwin would not have signed this if he didn't ink it. And if he didn't ink it, J. Bone would have signed it. They were very, very particular about the pages being marked correctly. And because Cook is uncredited, they wanted to make sure that with the artwork, people knew what they were getting. And so the tell for me, aside from stylistically, you could say you can see it. Bone had a cleaner inking style than Cook had. But if you look at it, and you can see this better if you look at the image online, Cook's pencils, because they're blue line printed, are still there. And if you look at the inking, he is not following the pencils almost at all. I mean, the figures are still there and they're still doing the same things by and large, but he's not following the outline or the line of the pencil work. And if you look at the Bone inked pages, he did. So Cook, because he drew it, felt like, he's like, I drew this, I can change whatever I want. Where Bone is like, all right, I'm inking over Darwin, I'm going to do what he drew. And that's a sign to me that, you know, it's clear. If you look at, especially here, it's like he moved the head a good half inch from where it was penciled in. You know, a lot of things just slightly off. And because when Cook went to ink the page, he said, oh, wait, if I move this here, it's better. Which Bone would not have done out of reverence for Darwin, you know, which makes sense. Right. Anyway, a very unusual spirit page that's inked by Cook. This is a real nice X-Men Chronicles page. This is Terry Dodson with inks by Klaus Janson, which is an unusual combination that I quite like.
Yeah, I mean, it comes out really nicely, even though you wouldn't think to pair them together. But it's a really nice final product. Highly recommend checking it out on the website, seeing it up close.
A couple of cool Neil Adams, Batman and Superman by Neil Adams. This one's kind of interesting. This is a rough by Adams to a recreation of the classic Detective. It's like a reimagining of the Detective 31 cover. So this was done by Adams as a cover, Detective Comics number 49 in 2016. But it's Adams riffing on the classic cover of Detective 31, but instead of Batman moving over Wayne Manor, it's the Joker. But even like that the house is the same. Like Adams was. This is a print, by the way. This is a print. This is the original drawing. So you're getting the Joker figure and the girl that. But yeah, from that prelim for that cover, which is cool. Adams famously did that cover in the 60s. Redid Batman 31 or Detective 31 kind of straight. But I like this one sort of flipping it and changing the Batman as the Joker. The cool Justice League page by George Tuska
from the Detroit era. So it's got Steel on it, and just, you know, for fans of that period of Justice League comics, this is the stuff.
And great classic Bill Ward sort of good girl humor gag, also gigantic. But this is a classic period Ward doing these beautiful Conti crayon illustrations. It's great. And another complete issue, you can go to the website and see it. This is Extreme X-Men number 14 by Salvador Larroca, 22 pages. I think there's 2 double spreads in here, or 1 double spread and several splashes. They're all pictured on the website. And we're almost done. We're almost done. Burned through a few things. And Bear with me.
Yeah, bear with us.
You guys are doing great. There are 287 pieces of art in the.
We're not showing all of them.
Oh, I know. I'm just letting people know that there's a lot more that they need to see on the website.
So this is from the first issue of the soon-to-be TV series Criminal by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. So and then the first story arc is what's being adapted into the show. So this is about to be a TV show. Let's see, the Steampunk #1 by Chris Bachalo. This is Bachalo's sadly short-lived steampunk series. Big fan of Bachalo, especially from this time period. Really, he was really we're firing on all cylinders with his really interesting and unique layouts and designs that he had been kind of perfecting over the previous decade. Very beautiful drawing, though. Beautiful drawing. Speaking of beautiful drawings, Chris Samney. This is one of his Battober illustrations from a couple years ago. Scarecrow and Batman back there. I can't remember what the keyword. Samney's Battobers are all keyword based, and I can't. It's in the listing. I can't remember what the keyword was. Some super fun Kevin Maguire pencils and inks, which is unusual. From Howard the Duck #7 from 2016. I think it's the only issue of Howard the Duck that's in that series. This is the Chip Zdarsky Howard the Duck series. And so he's got a nice, still dinosaurs and Spider-Man and Howard. But real cool, great work by Maguire. This piece is a lot of fun. This is a Gold Comic Buyer's Guide cover. This is from 1979. This is by Butch Geis. Great Star-Lord cover, beautiful airbrushed backgrounds. Really lovely illustrations.
And really early, not super early, but relatively early Star-Lord. Before he became the kind of cultural powerhouse that he is today.
This is just a cool Action Comics annual double. This is a double title splash by Kieran Dwyer, but it's a Bizarro world on here. So for you Bizarro people,
and
it's great Bizarro.
Lovely inking over himself from Dwyer.
And a couple of unusual pieces from the Punisher Armory. So 2 pages listed separately, but 2 pieces from the Punisher Armory. It's all hand drawn, except for the text, obviously. But these are all by
Elliot R. Brown.
Thank you. I was blanking on that for a second, but the guy could draw some guns. And I remember as a kid reading Punisher comics in the late '80s. I loved the Punisher Armories. They were just fun.
These are probably the best just drawings of guns that I have ever seen. So if you want drawings of guns, these are here. They're great.
And all right, so we've got this Thunderbolts movie coming out in a couple months.
Yeah.
So 4 pages from the U.S. Agent series, all featuring U.S. Agent, prominent member of the Thunderbolts in the movie world anyway. Fake Captain America / real U.S. Agent. But these are cool. So those are all up for bidding. And another Spider-Girl page. This one by Pat Olive, but it's a really beautiful.
Inked by legend Al Williamson. You can really tell in the drawing. This is from the Aurora model kit comic that came with the Superman model kit. This is the final page of the comic book that was intended for you to display it with the model kit in front of it. So it's sort of like a final page of comic plus backdrop for the model kit. Elements of this were used on the cover of the comic that was included with the model kit. But really beautiful, integrated work from Kurt Swan. This is Swan and Frank Giacoia. But a lot of fun, integrating the model kit comic book aspect of it by making it interactive with the model. A lot of fun from Swan. Beautiful Indestructible Hulk page by Matteo Scalera, the great Matteo Scalera. Great Hulk panel. Skip. I want to talk about this because it's not doing great in the auction, and it should because it's awesome. So this is a Bill Logan, Katie Keene sort of pinup page featuring the Katie and Gloria and Lucky all as the 3 little kittens. And I love Bill Logan and Katie Keene. I think it's some really great
overlooked kind of good girl comics from the 50s and 60s.
And
And 70s, I guess.
I don't know that I have ever seen a better
50s.
single-page example of Bill Woggin's work on this title. It's got everything that you could ask for. It's got outfits. It's got cute girls. It's got really nice fine line drawing. It is everything you could ask for on Bill Woggin page and more.
From the Katie Keene Pinup Parade. It's from 1959.
It's beautiful.
And all right, I want to show this because it's unusual and it's kind of cool. So this was the Maximum Carnage sort of like poster / advertising art. So this was done right around the time that Maximum Carnage was being published. So this is this is the color art. So the black and white art is by Ron Lim, is on an acetate. So this is the color art by Tom Smith. I love that it's gigantic. Usually color art is smaller than the original. I believe this is larger. And it's a key piece of Maximum Carnage artwork. So just wanted to make sure to highlight that. Even, you know, normally we don't spend a lot of time talking about color art, but this is an unusual piece. It's more significant, I think, than a lot of like color guides and color art that you see. But it's kind of cool.
And it's huge.
It's from 1992, so from that Maximum Carnage era. And I just want to talk about a couple things, and then we're done, because these are interesting too. So for people who remember the original Star Wars Clone Wars cartoon from 2003, so there ran in like 3-minute snippets of all, and so they were all directed and designed by Genndy Tartakovsky, who would go on famously to do Samurai Jack and what's the other? Primal. So these are concept art and storyboards from the original Clone Wars cartoon. This is a early design of Anakin, including like a half Anakin, half Vader design. This, unfortunately, we don't know who drew this, one of the studio artists, but interesting and neat. This one is a layout, like a prelim for a pan background, and this is by Tartakovsky, which is awesome. A very beautiful, like, Coruscant cityscape. And this one is a storyboard. It's of Anakin and Obi-Wan and other fun Clone Wars stuff, but it also includes 3 drawings by Tartakovsky of relevant backgrounds that are referenced on that page of storyboards. So all the red drawings are by Tartakovsky, and that's cool. I mean, he's, you know, as much as some of that era of Star Wars is sort of lamented by fans and kind of omitted from Star Wars, pardon me, Star Wars lore, the Clone Wars shorts and then the preceding Clone Wars series are generally considered the best Star Wars material of that time period. And
it's hard to imagine.
The art from it is rare and unusual.
It's hard to imagine getting to the later Clone Wars show and Rebels and the live action shows that have spun out of that universe without Tartakovsky first sort of picking up the torch, taking Star Wars to TV, and really believing in that universe beyond the movies that already existed.
And look where we are today.
Exactly. No, I mean, we've discussed my inbred love of Star Wars that's just inescapable. And, you know, there's some stuff in Star Wars over the past, say, 25, 30 years that I try not to think about. Maybe, you know, they say, but you can't say anything nice. But the cartoons are not one of them. The cartoons are the bright spot from that time. And starting with that one, I remember when that cartoon made me excited to see the movie, because that cartoon preceded Revenge of the Sith, and that movie is a movie that exists.
I like that movie a lot. I'll talk nice about that movie every day. But the cartoons, you know, for me, I saw all of it after, but the cartoons really made me feel like, oh, there's more Star Wars outside the edges of these movies. There are characters beyond the movies, there are stories beyond the movies, and it just made me excited about exploring that universe in a way that just watching the movies never could have.
Right.
And that concludes tonight's show and tell.
We did
No,
good.
there's a lot more stuff in the auction. You know, we never get to everything, and I think we did pretty well, actually, considering.
I was trying to get the link that, well, you know, in the show description, there's a link over to the site, so they can search just on the comic art that's for sale. So anybody who wants to see the other 180-ish pieces that are in the auction, they can head over there tonight. You have a whole week still to bid. Explain the bidding format and everything for everybody.
So on Monday, next Monday, even if you look now, there's a counter. Every item has a counter. And that counter is basically, each item is counting down to when that item ends, except for the fact that in the final 3 minutes, every bid resets the clock to 3 minutes. So there's no sniping. There's no reason to panic. Like if you get outbid, you don't have to freak out and make a mad dash to the keyboard. You've got 3 more minutes. So no worry there.
Bidding stops when nobody is willing to pay more than the price currently on the screen
for 3 minutes.
For a whole 3 minutes. So unless you fall asleep for an hour and miss the auction, you don't have to panic about the clock.
It did happen to me once during one of our competitors' auctions where they have a 20-minute extension, and I just forgot because 20 minutes is a long time.
They're thinking, I got plenty of time to do this.
And then it's like, oh, that's half an hour ago. Oh well. But yeah, so next Monday, 7 o'clock Eastern, we'll both be in the office. So any questions that you may have, one of us will be here to answer the phone. And and if people coming out to shows, starting with WonderCon, because that show is after this auction will be over, then we'll be debuting some of the stuff coming up in the next auction. That will be exciting. I'm excited for people to see some of it. Some of it's very cool. Like we've already gotten some things that are like, well, that's cool.
And not to mention, we are accepting consignments at conventions as well. So as soon as this auction's done, we're going to be into sort of full court press, looking for pieces for the next auction. If you've got anything that you want to bring to us to sell for you,
consignments can be used to pay for winnings.
That's right.
Can't stress this enough.
You say that.
Yeah, if you buy anything, you want to give up hard to pay for it, we will talk about how that works with you. We love when people do that because it means more stuff for the next auction. Yep. And your art can get featured on this show.
And I'll include the plug here in the comments that tomorrow night you're interviewing you. Is it you doing it tomorrow with Ed?
I am.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm going to watch that one because I've known Ed for a while. He's a good guy with a great collection.
He's got a very interesting collection too.
Yeah,
I mean,
I met Ed back in my Scott Eater days, so that says a little bit about the kind of stuff that he buys. And I never forgot him because his name is Ed Harris.
That's right. You can't forget that. Hey, you have a question on that?
Okay.
Yeah,
I believe it is addressed in the description. But it is, so the line art is an amalgam of a couple different drawings so you can see like Venom doesn't, so the original drawing was Spider-Man and Carnage.
It's a cover from the Maximum Carnage storyline. It's just these two here.
Venom was added, so that's why Venom sticks out farther. So the image would have been cropped here at the edge.
But to the question though,
yes.
the line art for Venom is not added by Smith directly. It is also on the acetate. If you took it out of the bag and peeled it up, you can see there is printed black line art on the acetate for Venom as well as by the Incarnage, and then the colors for everything are on the board directly.
There is no line art that exists that is this exact image with everything on it. It's a combination of an image of Venom and then the image of Spidey and Carnage.
So the original art is all the background and the coloring, and the acetate overlay is all the line art.
I would like to thank Marcus and you can throw me a Bob Dylan quote any day. Any day.
Oh boy, yes, Marcus keeps.
You're not gonna get one past me with a Bob Dylan quote, Marcus. Well, Ron Lim drew the whole thing.
Yeah, we're not sure entirely where the Venom came from. We know that the Spidey and the Carnage are on a cover. It may have been another cover. It may have been done specifically for this, or it may have been interiors. But it is all Ron Lim to the best we can tell.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but Ron Lim didn't actually draw that. That is all printed on acetate.
No Ron Lim.
Don't want to mislead anybody in any way.
He drew the image that was then printed onto the ad.
But Tom Smith coloring is all original there.
Right.
For the sake of clarity. Yeah, I think thanks to everybody for sticking around. I know sticking with these things for a couple hours is a long time, and it's the evening, and there are other things to do. And so I appreciate it.
You like looking at art and talking about art.
I like looking at art, but I'm not watching all your videos.
So you're gonna be in the chat tomorrow night though, with EC Harris.
Do my best.
Okay, you can watch it on the rewind too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought I interviewed him before because he's been on, but he only has been on one time. No, he's been on twice now because he got an award in the best of, so he was on for that. And,
first thing I ever bought out of one of the Comic Art Live, like virtual shows was from Ed. It was a piece that I should have bought a couple years earlier when it was in an auction, and I didn't. And then Ed put it up for sale, and I was like, well, it'll cost me a little bit, and I don't care. Happy to do it. And Ed was super easy to do work with. It was great. Nice. I look forward to it. I'm going to watch. I can't guarantee that I'm going to watch it live. I will try.
All right, that's fine. You don't have to. But if you're there, you got to say hi, so we know you're there.
Of course. I'll badger people. I'll just say, "Where's Captain America art? Where's the Captain? Why are you not showing more Captain America art?"
Yeah, there won't be any. I don't think there's any Captain America art tomorrow. But
and I finally got to meet Newell, and no Stingray in the chat today.
Yeah, he took the night off. Maybe he didn't know we were doing this. I don't know.
That said, he's not even here to hear me say nice things. But meeting Newell at OAX was one of the highlights of the weekend. It was really interesting. He was a really interesting guy to talk to. I love getting the Stingray story straight from the fish's mouth, as it were.
Exactly.
He's a really good guy and a really interesting guy to talk to. So if he watches on the replay, good to meet you, Newell.
Stingray is on another show tonight. I forgot about that. That's why he's not. There's a lot of stuff going on. We've got IC3 this weekend. You've heard of that. The IndieCon. You'd probably enjoy that. At least in your younger days, you would have enjoyed that. IC3. Yeah, New Haven.
We both talked about going.
New Haven is just far enough to be annoying from New York City.
Right.
It's like 2.5 hours on the train each way.
Yeah.
And I have friends who are going to be set up at that show. And that's this coming weekend, right?
It is. Yeah, it's Saturday.
Yeah. Which is the same weekend as the Mocha Festival in New York, which is maybe not great timing because they're kind of the same show.
Right. Yeah. That's what are you going to do? Right. I mean, scheduling is because I think the Mocha show always it's always in the same month or at least in the same 2 or 3 week window. And I don't know what to say. Mocha's always a good show, though. There's always great guests there.
It's true, and the guest list for the Indie Creator Show is also really great.
I mean, and Rug. I mean, there's
5 hours of traveling is a lot.
I get it. Yeah. We'll do it next year when maybe it's a 2-day show and it'll be a little bit more time to kind of relax and. I hope to go next year.
Do it in like Danbury or Stanford, where it's closer to the city.
Get a little closer.
You have to be in Connecticut. New Haven is just very far.
I understand.
Yeah,
I lived in New England for a while.
New York.
I almost never. I think I went to New Haven one time when I was going to school on the North Shore, Boston. It was just too far. I agree. I understand.
There's good pizza there, but I can't.
I dated a girl who lived in New Haven for a little while, and let me tell you, A, there's good pizza, and B, it's really far. It's a long trip.
Yeah, so anyway, we're buying a lot of pizzas for everybody. What's that?
Are you going?
Not this year. Kazer's going. Colin Solon will be there for our editor of the site, and of course Matt Sardo, who's the showrunner of that, he'll be there. So CAF will be well represented at the show. But yeah, this year I couldn't make it. But I actually commissioned some of the artists. So I've got Kazer's picking up 4 pieces of art for me there.
Well, I thought my buddy Ethan Young is going to be there, who I haven't seen in a while and never comes to the city. I'm still trying to push him to go to OAX. I think he'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was texting with him about it few weeks ago, and he was just like, "Ah, man, I gotta get on a plane." I was like, "Just get on the plane, man." That's true. Planes are crashing into each other on an alarming rate.
Yeah, it's a little tough. I know a few artists who are a little leery of traveling right now just for that same
What are
reason.
you gonna do? We have no control. We if our time is up, our time is up. If you got honestly, there are worse ways to go than in a plane crash because it's fast.
Mike and I are out of Lake Michigan in next month.
Yeah, on the way to Chicago.
Yeah, you'll be thinking about that.
Plane lands.
Harry, it was very nice meeting you.
Very
And
nice.
you know, if you're going to be at Heroes, I haven't bought my tickets and everything yet there, but I do plan to go to Heroes. So if you're there,
You gotta have your opening party.
Yeah. Well, we didn't do the party the last couple of
You
years.
didn't do it. Just last year.
Or was it last year that we didn't do it?
Just last year they didn't do it.
Okay, we did it 2 years in a row. Yeah, it was hard. You know, it's just something tough to organize. And besides,
What you need is to organize another thing.
there's two. Yeah, trust me. And well, I didn't have to do a lot. Fortunately, it was locals that did it. George Hodge, who set up E3, he was very instrumental in getting those.
Is that how you think? I've been saying Hague forever.
Well, I think he answers.
Apparently. I have no idea.
Yes, George Hodge. I mean, hey, maybe I've been saying it wrong all the years.
It's all
I'm
good.
pretty sure I got it right, though. I've heard enough people say his name to him.
No, I have no reason to not believe you. And this is coming from somebody whose name is butchered regularly, so I try to be better about that than maybe some people. Not that I think anybody's doing it on purpose. It's just I'm acutely aware of names being butchered. So I'll apologize to George next time I see him. Which may be.
All right. Well, you guys, you know, I know I'll be sending out a little bit of PR for you over the next week. Anything you need, just let me know. Obviously, I'm happy to help out however I can. And everybody will be watching next Monday night. I mean, I'm really curious about the FF cover. I like that one a lot. I mean, there's a few, and now that I didn't know those Gibbons pieces were in there, so I will be bidding on at least one of them. Just to make somebody pay more, or at least try to get one.
They're so cool.
Yeah, and there's so much stuff we didn't get to. Bill kept saying it. There's over 100 pieces that we didn't talk about even a little bit. So I highly recommend going, checking out the auction. There's a lot of underrated stuff, you know, and stuff that maybe it'll jump up a little bit towards the end, but is not at the top of the auction right now. That is well worth your time and attention. You might just fall in love with something you see there.
No, there's some cool stuff that maybe isn't the most valuable stuff in the world, but that value is not that. If value should never be the deciding factor as to why you like a piece of art. Some of my favorite art in my collection was very inexpensive. You know, it's all about, you know, it's all about what speaks to you. You know, and hey, having big fancy things, you know, that are desirable and valuable, it's fun. Who doesn't like owning things that other people covet? But that should never be the reason why you buy something. You know, it should be a happy little side effect to something that you bought. It's like, oh, other people want.
It's nice to own stuff that other people enjoy or would like to own one day. No, I appreciate all the emails I get. You know, when somebody says, if you ever want to sell it, I'm your guy.
But the only person who has to like the thing that you buy is you.
Exactly.
And
I see Stingray's in here now. You know, you can say goodnight to Stingray.
Hey,
Stingray. In the chat. We're closing things out.
I was saying earlier, now that you're here, that now that I've met you and now you're not in the chat, I don't know, maybe I did something. Anyway, thanks. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for showing up at the end, Newell. And yeah, and again, anybody with any questions can reach out to me over the next week. I'm here in the office. You can call. You can send me an email. I'll be here during the auction. Harry will be here during the auction as well. And yeah, I hope everybody finds something that they like. That's all I can do. Just I hope people find things that they like.
All right. Well, everybody, enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll be back at it tomorrow with DC Harris. But again, follow the link in the show description to get over to ComicConnect and check out their current auction. And you have 1 week remaining to bid. All right.
Thanks. Thanks again, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you, everybody,
My
for
pleasure.
tuning in.
Absolutely.
All right. Good
then.
night, everybody.